All right, hello and welcome. We have another Ask Me Anything session from the Budget Committee, and today we are joined with the Technical Steering Committee and the Chair Kevin Hammond, and Matt Davis as well as from TSC has joined us. So appreciate having you guys here today. So a few little ground rules first. The way that we operate these meetings are we're going to take a presentation from Kevin over the what the TSC has prepared for the annual budget. And once we've gone through his presentation materials, we'll take questions. We ask that you raise your hand for the to be recognized for your question. We are going to keep you to about a 2-minute timer, question or statement. And if you have a single follow-up question, that's fine. If there's other questions in line, let's let them go. And then if you have additional questions, you can come back through the line for additional questions as well. And with that, Kevin, good morning.
Good morning, Lloyd. Good morning, everyone. What we, as Lloyd said, what we're going to do is to go through the budgeting process that we've been working through with the TSC over the last few months, outline some of the issues that we've been investigating, explain what we anticipate will be on the roadmap for 2025 to some extent. But what's very important to emphasize is this is a journey where we're partway through the journey. What we're not doing here is to say this is exactly what we're going to do. What we need to do in 2025 is to engage with the community, to identify the work items that are of most importance, and obviously to make sure, as the Technical Steering Committee, that what we're choosing are the things which are most important and most necessary for Cardano. We're not doing this alone. We're part of a system, we're part of a process. We were talking yesterday with representatives from the product committee, Intersect Product Committee, who are putting together a vision and a set of objectives for Cardano. We will be working with the open source committee as well on the work items that we'll be prioritizing into 2025. And I noticed that we not only have Matt, so Matt, I'd just like to quickly say hello, introduce yourself.
Sorry, I find everyone. Yes, so my name is Matt Davis. I am one of the Intersect professional members of staff, and parameters and technical steering committee sit under my remit. So I'm one of the supportive team that supports our technical committees.
And we also have Marcus Gufler, who is one of the technical steering committee election members. So Marcus, would you just like to say hello?
Hello.
Thanks, Marcus. Marcus brings a great deal of technical expertise to the team. Marcus was one of the initial stake floor operators, if I recall correctly, has a great deal of experience in assisting the community with developing tools and technologies to enable Cardano. So we've got a huge amount of technical expertise which is brought to the table in the form of Marcus and the other representatives on the Technical Steering Committee. Great. So what I've been asked to do is to share a presentation. We gave this presentation a few weeks ago. I've tried to update it for today's session. If I miss anything out, please don't hesitate to tell me. And I'm afraid I've got a bit of a pre-Christmas cold. So if my voice fails partway through the presentation, what I'll do is hand over to either Matt or to Marcus to continue. So you guys, you've been warned. If my throat doesn't survive, please jump in, pick up the reins. We do this as a team effort, of course. So what we're going to discuss is what we're calling proposal prioritization. Now, the methodology that we've been taking, and which we've been evolving in conjunction with our colleagues, is rather than putting together a set of specific word items that we are definitely going to progress, what we're trying to do is to put together a general roadmap that allows people to participate in the development of Cardano. So this has been the overall strategy. So what we are doing here is not to prioritize specific projects as such. Rather, what we're doing is we're prioritizing areas of work for which we anticipate that developers will be able to submit bids, will be able to tender for specific projects to implement all or part of these work items. So the objective is to move to an inclusive and open development process in 2025, where we involve a large segment of the developer community. So the journey so far is the core infrastructure roadmap working group have put together potential roadmap items since August, and obviously this has been on the basis of what has been proposed to them. So we are opening up that that process at the moment, and alongside this, the product committee have been holding a number of open sessions to discuss and formulate a set of high-level goals that should guide the development of the work items and the vision that we're developing. So the goals and projects, potential projects, the proposals are linked, and those which will receive higher levels of support are likely to put forward for a higher proportion of the budget. So we're going to use the input from this prioritization process to help us guide the work that's being done. Bearing in mind that some work items will be larger than others, some will take longer than others, we'll have to go through a series of steps, etc. And we will also, of course, be making sure, using our technical knowledge and expertise, that we maintain a secure, stable end product. So there might be something which people don't realize is actually critically important. And obviously what we've got to do is to keep that work going, or there might be something small, which is an enabler for all kinds of other work. And what we will need to do is to keep work items like that progressing through the prioritization process. So there are several ways that you can participate in the product committee goal discussion. There are regular open calls. I assume this presentation is going to be shared later, Matt and Lloyd, yeah. So you'll be able to access the links from this. There's an open Miro board where you can add some feedback. And very importantly, we've got an open survey. It was going to be, we were originally going to set a deadline. We set a deadline of early December for the first set of feedback on this survey, but we're going to keep this open so you can continue to comment on the goals, on the objectives, on the work prioritization. So please do participate. The more input we have, the more representation we can take, the better the quality of the feedback that we get, and the more likely we are to do things which comply with the desires and requirements of the community as a whole. So please do participate in that survey. It shouldn't take very long to complete the survey. There are opportunities there to provide us with open feedback in form of written answers to questions. So please do take advantage of that. We will consider all the feedback very carefully, and we will summarize that feedback and provide summaries to the community to show how we're responding to the input that we're receiving from that. Secondly, if there is work that you feel should be being done, don't, as I said at the start of the presentation, don't think this is a fixed roadmap that is set in stone, that is going to be just a plan that is rolled out through the year. You have an opportunity to influence that. What we're doing is to set up a process where you can propose areas of work. You don't have to be a developer yourself, because what we're not doing at this stage is to solicit projects. What we're doing is we're soliciting work areas. So if there's an area that which you feel needs work, deserves work, which isn't identified on the list, or which you feel could be done in a better way, there is a process by which you can put together a proposal. This will be signposted by the CIR. Maybe it comes to the Technical Steering Committee because it's an item of development that should be taken forward. Maybe it's a research item that might then go via the product committee Maybe it's something which is completely new, we haven't even considered, in which case what we might be doing is flag this up as something that needs a bit of new innovation, and a bit of investigation, a bit of discovery work under some kind of formal grant to progress that. So please feel free to engage with that process. We'll be pausing for a short time for the Christmas break, but we'll be opening up again in January. Matt, do you want to say something a bit more about that?
No, I think that summarizes it. Like you said, that's an opportunity to submit projects if they're well formed, or problem statements if they're not. All feedback's welcome. A lot of the committees and working groups will be taking brief hiatuses over Christmas, and in the new year. We will sit down with the CIR group, and relaunch might be too much of a harsh word, but we'll pick up the process, and there'll be further comms and probably ways to help participate in that group as well in January and February. Like I said, the feedback that we've had so far has truly been helpful. So please continue to participate where you feel you can. It's vital. It's really useful information.
Yeah, and Kevin or Matt, if one of you have the link to these slides, the view only link to these slides, if you guys don't mind sharing it in the chat, Giorgio's asking for it. So if we can get that over to him, that would be super helpful as well.
Great.
Yes, we'll do that.
Thank you very much.
An important point, which is participation. If you feel you can participate from the point of view of helping us with reviewing the proposals that come in, that's also a positive way to contribute to this process. We want the process to be open. We want it to be community focused. So there are opportunities to engage on both sides, both in terms of producing your own proposals, but also looking at helping us look at these other proposals, provide feedback, helping these proposals grow into things that can be developed by the community. And it may, of course, be, we're going to take an open view on this. It may be that there's something which we don't feel can come under an Intersect budget ultimately, but there are other opportunities in the ecosystem. Some of the things that we'll be doing is to figure out whether, for example, something that's submitted, should it be something which is primarily funded by Intersect? Is it something which might come under a Catalyst work stream? That's one of the things that we're figuring out through this work item prioritization process. Great. So what we're going to do is introduce a number of goals that have been already identified by the product committee, and then introduce briefly the suggested projects that will likely to support the goals. So it's not a fixed list, as I said, this is an open list. What we've got here is a long list of projects that we'll be filtering through and helping to prioritize in 2025. And we're saying these are likely support, these things likely support the goals. It's the nature of software development that there's risk. Not everything will succeed. There will be setbacks, issues that have to be overcome, etc. And at this stage, we believe these, the CIR believes these are projects that will likely to contribute to the desired outcomes, but there could be other things that come up too. And it could be landscape changes as we go through 2025. Maybe the community priorities change, maybe something becomes incredibly important, something that hasn't been foreseen. That's perfectly legitimate to add to this work program. There will be prioritization opportunities said throughout 2025. This is going to be a continuous process. What we're doing is to take an initial cut of the things that seem most important, get work started on those, and then to reserve some proportion of the available budget for new work items, or to work through the next cut of the prioritized work items later in 2025. And the goal is to get as much impetus as we can into successful development, successful Cardano development, and to get things really moving in terms of the moving Cardano forward in the way the community wants. The TSC, the Technical Steering Committee, will recommend how best to implement the successful projects and oversee the technical delivery. And there are a number of things that will be involved in, including drafting milestone deliveries, helping acceptance criteria, and quality assurance of the projects that are actually successful in delivering the goals that have been put forward. And a key part of that is going to be facilitating a tender award process for the major contracts. This is going to be an open process, and suppliers will be invited to submit through an open process to tender for the projects that we would like to progress. And it may be that there's some element of revision. So what might happen is someone might say, well, we want to do this, and we'll say, well, that's good, but you haven't, there's something you've missed out here. We believe you missed out there. So there'll be a dialogue aimed at improving and refining the projects as they come in. So it's not an all or nothing thing. It's going to be a cooperative and collaborative process. TSC members named at the bottom. So I'm chairing the TSC. Adam Dean is the vice chair. We also have Neil Davis. We have Marcus Gufler, Johnny Kelly, and Nick Clark, who are also on the Technical Steering Committee. All names that people know and respect in the community. So the scope is something we're defining at the moment. We are primarily considering continuity. So Cardano continuity is technical services that need to build or fix current and future areas of Cardano, core Cardano blockchain. We're having some discussions about what exactly core means. These very interesting discussions. But we're going to draw this fairly broadly. We're going to be inclusive, but there will be things which are absolutely critical, absolutely essential. We will need to focus on maintaining those initially. And continuity can include new developments such as SIP 1694, but it can also include improvements to the components in the system, including the ledger, the consensus, networking, API, CLI, etc. So starting to introduce the product committee goals. First goal is to attract dApps and users, product market fit. So what we want to do is we want to get more people using Cardano, long and short of it. Very worthy goal. What we've got to do is figure out how do we adapt and enhance Cardano in order to ensure that there are some short-term things we can do. There are also going to be some things that are going to take longer. So we will aim to address both short-term and long-term needs here. But we will kick off as much as we can in 2025. So projects that could be relevant to this from the ones that have been submitted to us so far include Ouroboros Laos, which is aimed at improving throughput for dApps on the layer 1. They include finality improvements, so things which are aimed at either reducing the time by which transactions become final, measures like anti-grinding, or ones that are aimed at informing us of when things have become final, things like Ouroboros Peras, under the right conditions. We'll also be looking at transaction prioritization pricing models. Are there improvements we can make there? There have been proposals in the past in the form of things like tiered pricing, but we'll be open to other suggestions there. Babel fees for enabling the use of other kinds of tokens than ADA to pay for transactions. Proof of useful work is one of the suggestions that should come out of the research team. This will be an early stage piece of investigation, something that will take some time to develop properly. Work on partner chains has been proposed, and also work on Midgard, which is an enabling technology for layer 2. There's a full list of projects that have been proposed to us with the associated details on the Intersect knowledge base. And this is a living knowledge base. New things will be added to that over time. Second area that we're going to focus on, the project committee has identified as a goal, is easier to build on and to use Cardano. So the goal here, the problem is how might we reduce barriers and simplify processes for building on the Cardano blockchain. Several projects associated with that. Midgard could also class under this. So some projects could be classed under different areas. We will make sure we are clear about that when we do the prioritization. But projects that could relate to this include Hydra development. This is aimed at increasing the throughput as a layer 2 solution. Could include Mithril, the timeliness market for deciding which transactions should be processed when decentralized oracles, decentralized stable coins, improvements to the API to enable third-party applications and other developers to get access to parts of the node information that's within the node. These are ways we can help improve the overall developer experience. Thirdly, meeting the needs of apps. So these are identifying different use cases, and this will enable us to meet the needs of apps that want to build on it in terms of speed of transaction, speed of development, making us competitive with other blockchain options and helping us drive user adoption. So examples of things that we might be doing here include refreshing the Cardano architecture. They might include automated formal verification. There's a proposal for property-based testing tool for apps that we want to develop, and proposal for static analysis tools. And there are other examples that we can anticipate during the course of 2025 as well, of course. And finally, reliable decentralized governance. How do we make the new Cardano governance system strong enough to support the community governance model that we're in the process of rolling out very, very soon with the Plomin, is it Plomin hard fork, which a proposal governance action will be submitted on chain in the next few days, as I understand it. So making the new governance, the framework for governance strong enough to support the new governance system. And projects that might be involved in this include governance improvements, improvements to the wallet and GraphQL, maintenance of the guardrail strip that has been rolled out as part of Chang, which will be and continued via Plumen. Revised stake pool incentive schemes will feed into this, and also research which is needed by the parameter committee in order to inform decisions about governance parameter settings, for example. So there are many things which we can foresee here. We can't foresee exactly what is needed, interestingly, by the governance system. We can identify that there will be improvements that are needed. We know that things are not perfect. As we were rolling out SIP 1694, there are lots of great suggestions that people made for improvements to it. Where we could, we incorporated them, but there's plenty of scope for other things too. And an example of something that we didn't consider in SIP 1694, well, one thing which is coming up a bit is a special type of governance action to record the budget on chain. That's an example of something that we might need. We didn't foresee the need for governance controlling the budget when we put the design of SIP 1694 together. The Civics Committee and community members have said to us, well, yeah, actually it'd be a good idea if there was something other than just an info action that you could use to decide the budget, which had some kind of record on chain. So that's something which might be considered. Incentives for GRAPs, another thing that might be considered. And there'll be other things too, as I said, we just haven't considered at this point in time. So opportunity for people to provide input to that and to help us drive forward Voltaire, the next generation of Voltaire governance. Great. And beyond these general items, what we also need to do is to maintain Cardano's current quality. So how do we ensure that Cardano remains trustworthy, are reliable and competitive? Because we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. We've got a really great system. It has a lot of very positive attributes. I don't want to diss the competition, but I think we have the best goddamn blockchain on the planet, guys, and we absolutely want to keep it that way. So a number of things that we will need to do or could do with this, and one of the most important of them is the log structured merge tree integration. What this is going to do is to build in support for out-of-memory storage of various data structures. So this is going to help us maintain long-term sustainability of Cardano in a way that is trustworthy. And there are also proposals for a transaction monitoring system for ledger app rewrite. I mentioned the tiered pricing model before, but also core maintenance is incredibly important. We've got to keep the lights on, we've got to keep things ticking over. If we don't do that, none of the other things that we do are going to matter very much. We've got to keep the system working and usable by the Cardano user base as a whole. So that's a key priority for us. And make sensible improvements and adjustments as things evolve and develop within the ecosystem. Great. So one of the things that we have decided to do, we are proposing to do within the Technical Steering Committee is not to commit all of the budget up front, but to reserve some uncommitted budget. And this is important because in any large program, any large project, things always happen that you don't anticipate at the start. We don't know, we can't tell at this point in time, nobody can tell exactly what these are going to be. But from experience, we know that some issues are going to arise as we're rolling out the projects. And what we might then have to do is to reprioritize or reallocate funding. So the idea of the uncommitted budget is if there are issues with the development that we haven't foreseen, what we can do is we've got the scope to deal with those without having to go through a major exercise or pushing things back into a later planning stage. An example of something that happened like that during 2024 was the delivery of SIP 69, but there have also been other examples where, for example, we've made changes in response to SPO feedback on the way that voting options worked in SIP 1694. So we've had several examples of things like that. These weren't anticipated. We've also had some issues where we've discovered some things that we didn't anticipate during the development of the Genesis work. We've had to put some more effort into dealing with those. That we had the capacity to do that. And what we are therefore proposing in 2025 is that we keep aside some proportion of the budget to do that. If we don't need the budget to deal with these unexpected events, then we can pick up on new work items. So as 2025 progresses, we will know how the work is developing, and the uncommitted budget can also be used then to progress some additional work items. So we'll be able to pick up and start to work on those as well. So we're proposing that we retain a contingency of 30% of the budget, which will be utilised based on a majority quorum vote of the Technical Steering Committee, and we will maintain transparency on that. Okay, and there's feedback in the feedback presentation. You can provide your thoughts on that. So please do that. Okay, so there's a lot of details to share. Further information available on the Intersect knowledge base, covering the details of the budget committee and the prioritization process, more details on participating in the product committee, in the goals, the context, and the desired outcomes, details on the CIR review process. And as we said, if you've got a project you would like to submit for consideration, you can do so here. Instead, we'll be taking a short pause before opening up. But if you are taking a holiday break, now is the perfect time, as you're relaxing after your Christmas or holiday meal, to think about what new work items we want in 2025 for Cardano. So this is your opportunity to sit back, pause, reflect, and come back in 2025 with some additional strong proposals for things that will propel Cardano forwards. Knowledge base version presentation is also available, and the potential I hate the word backlog, by the way, guys. Backlog implies you're behind with the work. We're not behind with the work. We have a set of work we want to do. There's not a backlog. There's a set of new work items that we need to get our teeth into. We need to do the terminology, piece of terminology. But we're not behind. We're in front. We're charging forward with the work, and that's what we want. That's the message we want to put forward in 2025. But you can learn about the work items on the knowledge base. So do have your say. We've asked in the survey, we're asking a number of questions. Which goals do you think are most important in 2025? Are these the same goals that you think are important in the next 3 years? We've asked input on the projects for 2025. And this is not an exhaustive list of projects. This is just the projects that have been proposed so far. So this list is going to be extended and increased over time. But feel free to comment on all of those projects. So what are the most important things? Are there things we've missed? Plus some other questions. We're looking for both quantitative and qualitative feedback. So there's an opportunity for you to have your say and to express your opinion on that. Here's a QR code which links to the questionnaire, and we will provide anonymized a community report on the suggested prioritization in the very near future. So thank you very much, Lloyd.
All right. Thank you, Kevin, very much. Appreciate you giving us all a good rundown of where you stand. I did note there was a comment in the chat about the uncommitted budget being more described now in the Constitution than it had previously. And thank you, Matt, for making a note that in fact that this presentation was provided prior to the constitutional workshop, so there may be a few minor changes that have to be made, including recognition of the fact that we do have a method for improving the budget mid-year, approving additional budget spending mid-year, things of that nature. So that'll definitely get to that as we move the process forward over the next few weeks after the holiday. So at this time, if we can open the floor for some questions. There we go. All right. And see if you have any questions for Kevin, for Matt, Marcus, who's here as well from the TSC. If you guys have any questions for them, we're happy to take them now. You can just raise your hands, and happy to recognize anyone for questions.
I don't find the raise hand button. Sorry, I'm.
That's okay, Giorgio. It is down there just under the next to the react button, but by all means, just go right ahead. We're fine. We can recognize you first. Go ahead, Giorgio.
Thank you. Maybe some update on the. I don't understand the process of how the bottom up or top down budget is going to meet with those items. I see in the list we have the FTEs estimates. How is the total number, or it's gonna come up? Is it gonna be a bottom up or top down, and then the TSC is gonna, cut the bottom that do not make the list, or is it gonna readjust? how is that going to work?
Yeah, so Lawrence can probably comment a bit on the budget. What we're going to do is we're going to prioritize the work. So what we won't be doing is to start with the budget. We'll be starting with work items and prioritizing the work items. Now, we are not going to, we have asked project proposers to give us an FTE estimate, but that's only an estimate of the amount of work. And obviously, until you've done some detailed design investigation, you can't be absolutely sure how much effort is actually required. Fundamentally, the effort drives the actual cost of the project. So what we will expect is when we're opening up the tendering process, that contractors will be able to bid for the work. They will include their cost in that, and it might be that a project is awarded in parts rather than one big thing. So what you might expect is a project that takes a year might comprise 3 or 4 parts, each of which has an estimated effort and an associated budget assigned to that. So there'll be some flexibility in terms of the delivery. And then what we'll need to do is we'll need to match up the items that are being assigned to the budget that is available to us into the different budget categories. So the majority of the things we'll be doing, we would expect would come under Intersect's core budget, the core budget that is being assigned. But some of them might be research, innovation, discovery activities, and those properly come under the research budget, for example. So, so part of the prioritization process will be to say, okay, this thing is, it's this percentage of research and innovation, it's this percentage of development work which aligns with core roadmap, and there's this thing which is non-core roadmap, and we're going to have to figure out whether there is a budget, maybe some kind of grant budget that would deal with that. Work can progress, can change categories, of course. So over time, if we've done some initial investigation work that starts the project, what we then expect is, well, if we're progressing the project further, then it's going to pick up into the core budget and so on. So hopefully that gives some idea of how the process will work.
Yeah, I understand. So if say the backlog is too large, there would be the less prioritized items would need to take, let's say, a back step. This would be the heuristic. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. And Giorgio, also I can add that if you're available on Thursday, we're going to be having a call with product again. Product and civics will both be in on Thursday, and product's going to go over some of the research items. They've compiled some of that, so you'll be able to see kind of how this whole flow can work with the multiple committees, each kind of taking the area of their expertise, if you will, and contributing to the overall budget process.
Yes. The last comment on my side. It's a pity we are so few people here. And I found about this meeting last minute myself. So we need to publicize those meetings more. Where can I find the Thursday meeting?
It's under the Luma Simo. Can you put that link,
Okay.
please?
Yeah, I will share it, and also it's included in Cardano calendar. So all meetings are also
yeah,
there.
I found it.
Yeah.
I'm learning.
And Giorgio, we appreciate extra amplification. Like we obviously want as many people that can attend these as possible. So we do put these out on YouTube, but we also would love additional amplification from CF and wherever else, your own personal platforms as well.
Sure.
Thank you, Simo, for sharing the link in the chat there. If we have another question, anybody else would like to ask a question of Kevin and Matt and Marcus from the TSC, happy to take a couple more questions. We've got about 14 minutes left in the call today available for us. So any other questions, we're happy to take them.
No, I think from what we agreed on in the steering committee so far, everything is well covered. It then depends on the world budget thing and how it actually plays out. But I can only agree on what we already agreed on in the committee.
Right.
Thanks, Marcus. Juan Sierra has his hand raised. Go ahead, Juan.
Yeah, my comment, I'm part of the product committee, and one of the things that we've been steering with is thinking, I mean, on my side, I think it's important to think Willow as a quantum chip that is coming. Just keep that in mind when you are doing your brainstorm on what would be a good point to address in the future. I mean, I know it's early, but we should be early on that too, as well as the other part that is important is Bitcoin OS. Bitcoin OS is going to bring many transactions to us. I know those are two frameworks that Charles is working on right now with IO. At the same time, we should be preparing to have a voice on that, right? And the other thing that I wanted to mention is Giorgio point of socialization, and I have a question for him. What would be the best way for you, or actually for each of us? What would be the best way for us to socialize information? Because the thing is, I know the effort. I know that Joy has been, the whole committee has been doing a huge effort to socialize. But even me, I just don't see it sometimes, and wondering what would be the best way for us to socialize those things. Back to you.
We need to come up with another drama, so maybe some leaker. Like in the next Intersect call, we're gonna discuss the leak. Now, I'm joking. Yeah, I think the CF is happy to help and amplify. We need to coordinate. I'm happy to do it on my channels, and the last couple of weeks have been very busy for all of us.
Yep. I'll put Giorgio, I'll put my public calendar link here in the group chat. If you want to grab, it's everybody can have this, it's fine. But if you want to grab a meeting on my public calendar for like first, next week or early in the new year, it's fine. We can start coordinating some of these because these calls will continue very much into the new year, and we need to do them going forward. So, but yeah, so I dropped a bit.ly link for my public calendar. Grab a time on there and let's see if we can coordinate some stuff.
Yeah, and if you think about maybe holding some workshops, Lloyd, I mean physical workshops.
Completely agree, Kevin. I think it's a fantastic idea. I know we've floated the idea a couple times, and I think it's something we should definitely think of for early in the new year. Start really planning some of those and get it moving.
And we can consider co-locating with major events. That would be a great way to.
Yeah, again, it's being more efficient that way would be amazing. I know the Rare Evo folks have talked about allowing some co-location at their event. They're expanding their event this year, so that may be one opportunity. But as well, any of the other big blockchain events, if we can get a room, nearby and have gatherings, I think that's going to be. It's an incredible idea, and we should definitely pursue that.
Right. So Juan, I made a note about the 2 points you raised. So as I understood it, you concern about quantum computing. So quantum computing is starting to become a reality after a very long time of gestation, and we need to be aware of how that could affect, well, not only Cardano but blockchain as a whole. So I know that the research team had been considering this in the past. I've spoken to community members about ways to address the quantum challenge, and that could obviously have a major impact on us. Potentially also an opportunity, but depending on how quickly quantum gets out there. So it's how you respond to quantum, I suspect, that's important. We have to be aware of the change that's happening. And Bitcoin OS absolutely came up in conversation earlier today. So it's one of the things that we in the Technical Steering Committee will have to consider, and we welcome your input from the Product Committee to guide us as to important directions like that.
Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, Juan. All right, we've got a few minutes left here, about 8 minutes left. See if do we have any other questions from the room? Anyone that would like to be recognized for a question for the Technical Steering Committee?
I'll fill the space very briefly. I put a link earlier in the chat, and I'll put it again. That although this presentation is a pretty version of this information, it is all available in the knowledge base in text. So if you don't like the presentation, then it's covered, so you can go and read it in black and white. And there's again all the participation steps, hopefully really clearly laid out. Again, feedback's welcome. And again, there's a huge amount of information that and a lot of the teams and people have put in. So what we've called the project cards. So obviously Kevin read out the names of the projects. So a lot of those projects have all their key details, and a lot of the sort of champions for those projects have also created sort of 5-minute or 3-minute explainer videos that go into the topic and break them down. So if you're not familiar with those projects, that's a really good place to start to find more information about them and those explainer videos and what the benefits could be for those projects. And there's an awful lot of work that's gone into that by lots and lots and lots of people, Giorgio and Ben from the CAR especially. So please go check it out, please read it, please review it, and if you think there's feedback on that aspect of it as well, then pass it through. There are links in the knowledge base to do so.
All right, thank you, Matt. So Lawrence, we have any parting questions for these guys? Since we're not seeing any other questions from the crowd, we got a good parting question.
Okay, one from me, is it? So from a TSC perspective, we know that the funding sources for Q1 or half one of 2025 is going to be limited. We also know there's a number of other funding sources available to us or yourselves, Charles, venture capitalists, etc. How do you plan to manage some of the projects as you go into next year that will be funded from other sources other than sourced from the Treasury?
So what we're intending to do, Lawrence, obviously, as we're saying, is to prioritize the project. So we're going to manage the funding that's available to us very carefully. We're conscious that it's finite and it's being made available to us on a grace basis. But what we will be aiming to do is to start the process as we intend to go on. So we'll be working on prioritization. What we anticipate is that there'll be a short period when we have to dip into these funding sources, assuming the community is behind what's happening. What we then anticipate is the Treasury funding will come available to pick up on that. So it will be a case of seeding, kicking things off, getting things set up, doing the prioritization, doing any filtering, kicking off any necessary activities, particularly where things could span multiple years. And if we don't start our work now, we're going to be delaying the delivery potentially quite significantly, as well as we said, making sure that the core is maintained, that we keep the lights on, Cardano keeps functioning in the same way that it has done historically. So that will be what we're doing. And in doing this, we will be aiming to make sure that we deliver the best possible value for money from the projects that are selected. This is one of the criteria that the team will be using in its project evaluation.
Cool. Thank you.
I hope that warms the cockles of your heart as someone who's intimately concerned with the budget, Lawrence.
I'm looking at all potential funding sources at the moment. So we'll sort something out, don't worry.
And maybe as a closing note, just fake news that we are going to vote against the budget.
Oh, hang on, we are recording this, aren't we?
We are recording this. We're happy to
we never had any discussion in CF about voting for the budget, yes or no. So it's I don't know where this comes from. Sorry, guys.
Don't believe everything you read, I think they say, that's it.
No more dramas, please. Yes.
Thank you for addressing that, Giorgio. I do appreciate it. I did see the blog post from the CF that made very clear that you guys were supporting the Constitution and also that you had no plans to vote against the budget. You were waiting to actually view the budget before making decisions, which is all that you could ever ask of anyone in our community is to, hey, wait till it's out and then make decisions based on that. So absolutely appreciate the information and the support there. Happy to give you time on that today. And on that note, guys, we're down to the final 3 minutes of the day. So we'll move to final thoughts. Kevin, Matt, if you guys have any final thoughts from TSC that the folks need to hear before we wrap up the show here.
Nothing from me. Thank you for attending. So appreciative. Thank you again, Lloyd, for hosting.
Pleasure.
Yeah, just to re-emphasize the message, Lloyd, that we're open for business. We are working with the community. We are open to feedback, and we're open to community involvement. So please get involved.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. Thank you for your time, attention, and participation. That's what makes blockchain work. So I'll see you all in the next session. Take care, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.